Welcome to another episode of the Office Altering Hire and Empower with Molly McGrath podcast. If you're a returning listener, welcome back. If you're a first-time listener, hopefully you'll become a long-time listener. As always, I'm your show host, Molly McGrath, founder of Hiring and Empowering Solutions and creator of this revolutionary podcast. You can check us out at hiringandempowering.com. Okay, gang, today we are talking about, this is class 3. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you're joining, you don't have to be on video. No need to do that. We're recording everything for you. So let's talk about, we are in number 3 week of high performance productivity sprints. So I want to start off and kind of do a recap of what we've done for anybody who hasn't attended the previous sessions. Number 1. We talked about clean office clutter and go back in the back end of the academy, look at that frustration breakdowns, where to go from that, how to facilitate it, how to do that, etc. Today, we are pouring a bow on all this, pulling it all together. We're at the year-end sprint. You've heard me say in these sprints that we've been doing that we are, now 17 weeks, clipping 17 weeks till year end. And there's all this anxiety that's coming up. I just did a pocket coaching recently on raises and reviews and year-end bonuses, what to do, what not to do, attorneys feeling the pressure, the niggle, employees, and I don't even love that word, but I'm just going to say it, or VAs or what have you, feeling like, is it coming? Is it not? Starting to feel it. It's crazy. Once we clip Labor Day and we're done with that, all the year-end swell starts to happen. So today I'm doing part 3, our final session. Go back and listen to the prior ones. This is about the power of incentives, how to create high performance productivity monthly, quarterly, annually. Honestly, I would even say weekly incentive-based bonus plans that are not dependent on the attorney to lead. And it really has a 4-part approach: that strategic retreats, power projects that come out of that, quarterly employee growth plans, and then bonus KPIs that are attached to your job description that are individualistic for you to be on your own path of growth, but then also team-centric as well. So in the back end of the academy, there is no shortage of information and training in there in each one of them, but I want to talk about them high level to bring a bow on this. So step 1, we're at this place, and maybe depending on where you are, maybe you've been there from day 1, 20 years ago. Some people in here, I had a firm yesterday, they've been with just an attorney and their admin assistant that started out 35 years. They've been together. So, or you might be here for 2 weeks, a month, whatever, wherever you are on your journey with your law firm, it's a-okay, because the goal is for you, number 1, do you have strategic retreats that are in your calendar consistently? So I know we have a story that is, we're always so busy. There's never enough time. We don't want to give up valuable, precious, profitable client time. But you hear me say this over and over again. It's overused about putting the oxygen mask on yourself. But honestly, it's so important to get out of that place of giving ourselves the same space and grace and respect for our own internal meetings that we would for a client meeting. So if you do not have strategic retreats on your calendar, bring it to your team meeting, bring it to your daily huddle, however you communicate internally, starting with the decision maker, with the owner, with the owner operator, or maybe you have a C-suite layer within your firm, getting strategic retreats on your calendar. In the back end of the academy, there is no shortage of training on how to do that. It's within the 12-week boot camp. I will make certain that when we send out a reminder, a recap from this, that we'll put all the links in there, short links for you and quick links for you to be able to access that. There's an agenda, how to do the prep work beforehand. So out of today's session, this is what creates and makes you a high performance entrepreneur in the entrepreneur's world. You're here for this training. You go back to your attorney and you say, we do not have quarterly strategic retreats. Maybe your attorney goes out there and they belong to a legal organization or a business organization for business growth and development, and they go attend them, but they don't come back. And that's what I hear so often. Many legal organizations have, where they go to either live quarterly events or called LQN, some call them triannual practice enhancement retreat, but they don't bring their team members there. And so they come back with the binders and the things and what have you, or maybe they do them online and they're not getting on an airplane and they're not bringing you as part of that. So that's an opportunity. And we've talked about this in session number 1, where your goal is to get those binders from your attorney. And we don't want to stop them from ideation and from maximization and really feeding their visionary. But the goal is for you to get those binders back from them so you can start building this strategic retreat for your internally, so we can actually talk about their ideas and make an informed decision of if this is something that we want to deploy. So number 1 for you is to go to your attorney and for you to clarify and verify and discern and decide and systematize strategic retreats and putting them on the calendar quarterly. Please, please, please do not end 2023 without having a full day retreat on your calendar. Does not have to be expensive. I'm not saying that we're shutting everyone down and going to the Bahamas and going on a cruise and all the things. That is not what I'm saying. I'm saying from a place of you can do them internally. And again, I don't have time today to go into the whole training of it, but there's prep work to do for everybody on the team, so everybody has a voice, and then how to manage and facilitate it. And the goal, again, how to become a value creator as a team member, how to become a high performance producer, is it's not led by the attorney. That's so refreshing. So refreshing. I had a law firm this morning that actually, when we were doing their coaching call, they told me 2 things that was fascinating. They are reaching goal. They're exceeding goal every single month. So their monthly revenue goal, they have been exceeding it by $23,000 a month. Not a big law firm. That I think they have 4 people on their team, 2 full-time, 2 part-time, and the attorney, 1 attorney, 1.5 attorney operator, and they're exceeding it. But they have not had a quarterly retreat at all this year because they've been so incredibly busy. Up until this point, I've been coaching them for 11 years, been working with them. They've been in this program. They were doing it consistently. Then the leads started going crazy. The business started going crazy. They were adding people, onboarding people, offboarding people. And it's fascinating because the attorney had said, I always have this anxious feeling that the other shoe is going to drop. And it's because of the lack of the strategic retreats, because now you feel like you own a job. Now you feel like you're just in the middle of the fray, and we don't have something bigger that we're anchoring to. When you hear me say over and over again, the root of all anxiety is lack of information. And lack of information comes because we're just going at it so fast and furious. So my recommendation for you, which is bringing this all full circle, gang, of how to get bonuses and raises for you all. So the strategic retreat, what comes out of that are your power projects. My recommendation is always never more than 4. I used to run these and facilitate them for a national legal organization, and they'd walk out with 10 projects a quarter. And then every quarter, the attorneys, and thankfully they brought their team members, would get on a plane. They would come back to our quarterly meetings, and they very rarely did anybody even accomplish their goals. They'd get them started, they were in action, and then they were having conversations, or we stopped doing it because the sheer number was just so soul crushing. So when you keep it simple, my recommendation is no more than 4. Sometimes it might be 2. The law firm that I talked to today, we made the decision it was 2. That's it, because the one project that they had, when we ran the numbers, it had $600,000 a year of reoccurring revenue because they were creating a VIP program for their clients, existing clients and future clients. And so for that, I'm like, one project's more than enough. It's an opportunity, and we create a really healthy bonus attached to it. So again, get strategic retreats on your calendar quarterly. You as a team member, you say to the attorney, listen, I just want buy-in that I could put them on the calendar, coordinate with everybody, figuring out. My recommendation is always a Friday or Monday. And if you've been with me for a minute, you know I'm a huge, huge fan of making certain that you have construction days, money days, and growth days. And you structure that comes out of strategic coach. Many different coaching programs are constantly teaching this, so you can plan your work and work your plan and have that time to work in the business and on the business. So get the buy-in from the attorney. This is how you show up as a value creator and a producer. Listen, just buy in. Can we start implementing this? Don't worry about what it's doing full day. My recommendation is that we do it on a Monday or Friday, because we don't see clients on these days. Whatever works for your firm. Some firms have Wednesdays, whatever they might be. I know it's different for people with court dictated calendars. We might pick a Saturday if that's necessary or what have you. And then let me manage it with the team. Let me schedule it. It's 9 to 5, 8 to 4, whatever it's going to be. Let me get on everyone's calendar, and then let me facilitate and lead the prep work, which in the back end of the academy, there's the form there for how to do it. So I'm going to put in my calendar. I'm going to know when I send it out, when I need to get it back. I'm going to compile it all, and then I have the agenda. And then I'm going to manage and facilitate it. And I'm going to put on my calendar time for you and I to have some meetings leading up to that day. You're planning it, you're leading it, you're managing it, and you're facilitating that for the attorney, which is really great, because then now we're going to come up with a plan for when you have that next shiny object syndrome moment, when you have that next $1 million idea, when you just wish that you could have this white space and sacred time to work on the next idea that you see on a Facebook group or from an event that you went to or what have you. Now we're going to come up with that system for how a place for you to park. And I know many of you that are here today and listening to the recorder, whether it's a Google Doc, it's a Trello board, or what have you. So when attorneys, especially if they're high quick starts, have this idea, when they give it to us, we feel like they're like, drop everything and do this now. No, actually what they're saying is, please, can somebody capture this and document it? Because I'm going to forget about it. I'm going to have 14 other things that come to me before 11 a.m. this morning. I just want to know there's a system for my ideas to be captured. And then there's follow-up that's brought back to me and reminding me. And maybe I thought it was the best idea on August 30th, but by the time we get to our retreat planning, or on September 15th or October 1st or whatever it might be, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I've been mulling that over and what have you. And I've met with other law firms that actually now they've deployed it and they've run through it, and they decided that it's actually not the best system. It's not the great idea, or it was the best idea. And when I thought it was this at that time, I actually have more evidence. I have more proof of concept and data and information, and it absolutely should go to the top for the for power projects. So please make sure it's on the agenda for the retreat. How refreshing for an entrepreneur, for an attorney or a manager, a leader, to know that they don't have to lead all this. They know that when they are back to back to back to back with client meetings, they know there's a safe place for them to land. Just like so often we say, we always need something to look forward to, whether it's a vacation or what have you. For an entrepreneur, for an attorney, for a business owner, a vacation is just as exciting, but honestly, in my opinion, and the feedback I get from attorneys, what's more exciting is having that strategic retreat. because their anxiety goes down. They get to feel and act and operate like a visionary, like an owner operator, and they're not feeling like they're in the niggle of everything. So that's my recommendation for you as a high performance productivity. So number one, get the buy-in on the idea for the attorney. If you need to watch the training together or separately, in the recap, you're going to have the link, send it to your attorney and say, and watch this. And this premise of it, it's the idea. Heck, share this recording with your attorney as well. Number two, power projects. We walk out with those power projects. My recommendation again is no more than 4. Again, there's a form in the back end of the academy. Always, always, always. My motto is it's easier edit than create. So it's not a straitjacket. It's not a dictation. Take what you'd like, revise it, make it work for you as long as it's consistent, persistent, scheduled. So the power projects are what comes out of the $1 million ideas, what comes out of the retreat, what we are doing to work on the business, what are we doing to our path of growth for scaling up, for leveraging, what have you. But the make or break of it, as you all know, people love strategic retreats. They love team building. They love all the warm and fuzzy things, but they resent them when we schedule time for them and we attend them and then nothing happens after. So the power projects, the make or break of them, and it's really frustrating as an entrepreneur, is I spend this time, I shut the law firm down for a day. I ask people to do their prep work and what have you. And we have this great idea and then nothing's done with it. Nobody does anything with it. So you're equally frustrated as a team member and the entrepreneur is, and the goal is don't worry. This is again, how we become a value creator and how we systematize this. I'm going to manage, lead, and facilitate this. And I'm going to take the notes and I'm going to make certain that I clarify and verify again. We always talk about this in Law Firm Admin Bootcamp. Clarify and verify. We're going to come out with a plan. Again, it is a roadmap. What the idea is, what the next action is, what the last action is, the deadline for each step of the process, who's managing and leading, responsible for it. And it's part of our weekly stakeholders meeting. So it's on our agenda that we're checking in from day one. We have that retreat on Friday. We leave for the weekend. We come back on Monday and we say, great, my Monday morning, if I'm the gatekeeper of this all, I'm going to spend an hour to just clean up the plan, what have you. And then we're going to come. And now it's part of our agenda, 15 minutes of our weekly stakeholders meeting. Again, if you're new to the academy or you're just listening to this, go back in the 12-week boot camp or go back into the academy and watch on how to manage and lead a weekly stakeholders meeting, what the make or break of that is. So again, we're not going to just have an Oprah moment. We're not just going to have a conversation about this. There is actually project management attaches. And guess what, attorney? It's not dependent on you. In fact, very rarely does any of the projects that come out of that dependent on the attorney. Now they might be part of it. They have to record a webinar, they have to record a workshop, start the podcast or what have you, but their name's not attached to that. It's a marketing coordinator that is going to make sure that they lead and facilitate it and do all the pre-planning. And the only thing the attorney has to do is show up on stage, show up in a Zoom room, show up wherever and do the 1 hour thing, the half-hour thing, whatever it's going to be. And then their hands are done. It goes back to marketing. So they're actually the lead of the project. Now, here's the deal. You also need to have growth time in your calendar to be able to work on the projects. Because number one, we have the retreat. Then we have a strategic plan that comes out of it, not managed and led by the attorney. Yay, super excited about that. But then we actually have time to work on the new idea, the new thing outside of client work. Again, if we don't plan it, it's not going to happen and it's going to become a frustration. and that we do not want to get back on that hamster wheel. We do not want to get back on that roller coaster. So scheduling time. And again, in the recommendation when it comes to when you go back to, and if you were not haven't gone through the 12-week boot camp, going back to the construction days, the money days, and the growth days. So you have growth days in your calendar where you are, by and large, many firms will do it on Fridays. You have to pay attention, know your practice, or they'll do it on Mondays, whatever day it is that we try not to see clients. If it's court dictated, then you have to know your firm and be able to manage that and find a way to make that work for you. Some firms will pick one night a week that they work late. Tuesday nights, we get pizza, we get drinks, we get whatever, and we work on it from 5 to 6:30 or 5:30 to 7. We're all in agreement with this because guess what? There's a team bonus and there's an individual bonus attached to it that is crystal clear and concise of how that's going to happen. So we're okay. So an excuse is not, you don't understand our project. We're very, very heavily court dictated. We don't have time. We have no control over our calendar, whatever it might be. The courts are closed after 5 o'clock. So we decide on what we want to do to work late because we know there's something in it for us to do process improvement and then future ideation for growth. So figuring that out and having that calendared as well. Sometimes it doesn't require the attorney. Sometimes the great news is it's admin staff where they may not be an attorney or a paralegal, where they are in court. A lot of times those are the power projects to be able to get to that place and do it. So just really get clear on that, where it doesn't have to be so heavy and hard and feel like it's daunting and we're never going to be able to do this. Because you've heard me say this over and over again, your excuses and reasons are the cemetery for your dreams. So it can't be, it is what it is. How can we be difference makers? How can we be industry disruptors? And how can we make this happen is so critical for this. So then we come into employee growth plans. That is the third part of this. So this is such a perfect time of year because everybody's feeling the swell. If not now, I mark your calendar. It happens after Labor Day, depending on where you are in the country. Some people on East Coast, their kids aren't going back to school till the Tuesday or Wednesday after Labor Day, depending on where you're at. Some people I hear, on the West Coast, where kids started the first week of August, they're already feeling the year-end sprint. You know yourself, you know your marketplace, you know your area of the country, where we feel like when the clock turns, we're already panicking about Christmas. We're already panicking about raises and bonus. So quarterly employee growth plans. This is all in the back end of the academy, and there's a whole training module on that. There's a suggested, again, easier to edit than create. There's a suggested process and a tool there too. So this is another way where you come back as a value creator to your attorney and say, all right, I want to make certain we have this tried, tested, proven structure to end the year, but going forward for every year. So to recap, we are going to have quarterly strategic retreats out that are, there's pre-work, during work, post-work. Pre-work is the questionnaire and the homework that you have everybody on the member of the team do. Then we have during, what happens at this strategic retreat, not managed, led, facilitated. It's time, just like EOS with 90.0, many of you that do it, it is time every step of that retreat. It's not a conversation, it's managed, it's led like a board of directors meeting. Then we walk out with our projects of what we're doing, and then we have our growth days to make sure they happen. One small step at a time, 2 millimeter shifts. If you plan your work and work your plan, then you reach your goals and dreams. And then we have quarterly employee growth plans. Can I put these on the calendar going forward? I'll put time on your calendar to review the plan and suggestion from Law Firm Admin Bootcamp. Again, the beauty of this is that each member of the team is operating from their own individual plan. They do a self-evaluation, then it goes to their manager. I'll just use that term because some attorneys, it might not be you. You might be a PLA, you might be an office manager, you might be a COO or CEO within your firm. So they're managed and led there. They do their part, then we come together when it comes time for performance reviews, which if you've been around me, I'm not a fan of that terminology. I like them more growth plans. When we come together, it is a coaching conversation. It is an empowering conversation. And then we're talking about, and it's very, very clear what the benchmark is, what true north is. You've heard me talk about last week, Jessica. And Jessica is in our 12-week live boot camp. You'll see her on the videos and things of that nature, where her goal was $1,000 a month as a bonus. She's very clear in her KPIs, and we're going to get into that individually, and how she was exceeding that every month. Her very first month, it was $1,500, and I think it was $1,560 that she got. Crushed it. Do you not think that the momentum, and the attorney was happy to write the check because the ROI for the firm, from a revenue, from an engagement, from a client perspective, the client experience was like 12x off of that. So that's why she exceeded her goal, because of what she was able to accomplish. So you're putting that structure, again, depending on where your firm is at and what layers you have. But most small, mid-sized law firms do not have an HR department. Guess what? We're putting the system and the structure in there, so we never ever have to guess. We have the framework in there, and I'm going to lead an attorney as a value creator, as a high performer, and going through this 3-part productivity sprint to really get this locked and loaded for year end and going forward. And it's going to be something, as we talked about before, ideas that are coming out in preparation for your strategic retreat, or maybe coming out of your strategic retreat. When we talked about the clean office clutter, we did that in session 2, walk through the entire process, having that hardwired in the calendar. I've talked about how firms have found checks, uncashed checks sitting in files. How they have found engagement agreements that were never processed. There's money laying all over, and opportunities laying all over the office, figuratively, or on your hard drive, or your virtual drives that you use when you go through this kind of operation cleanup and quality control process. So employee growth plans that we get agreement that we're going to put them on the calendar quarterly. They may have to be facilitated by the attorney for the first time. If you are new to, or maybe you're up leveling into becoming an office manager. And so we really have to set the tonality, set the structure, and you might need the attorney for the first go round for that. But let me get them on the calendars. Let me get the prep work on the calendar. Let me introduce and manage the framework of it. And then let me attend them with you for the first time. And then you're out. I'm going to start doing that, because guess what? That's in my employee growth plan. That's what I'm leveling up to. And so some of you might be sitting in the spot of client service coordinator, or maybe you're a paralegal that's moving into an operations manager, or maybe you're a virtual assistant that really wants to take this on as well. Whatever seat you sit in, this might be a void within your firm. We all know, I see attorneys all the time that are enamored with EOS, or they're talking about traction, or they're talking about atomic habits, all these books. And maybe this is your attorney, or maybe you are the attorney that sees this in the Facebook group. It's so fascinating to see all these frameworks and structures, but it doesn't have to be that hard. You don't have to pay an EOS implementer $10,000 a month to do that. You don't have to pay an integrator. You don't have to pay an implementer to come in and run your strategic retreats if you're not at that point and it's not a framework that you have. Maybe you are. Maybe it is time to up level in that. But where you're sitting right now, if you do not have that luxury, or you don't already have that within your firm, become the EOS implementer and integrator for your firm. There's a great book for anyone who's listening to this that I would recommend. I don't love to throw business books at everyone because a confused mind says no, and it's really heavy and hard. But I would say 2 books that I would recommend that sort of go hand in hand to help you with introducing this framework is Rocket Fuel, which is by Gino Wickman, the creator of Traction. And it's also on the suggested reading list in the back end of the academy. And the second is What the Heck is EOS for employees. And super easy read, super fun. Do audiobook if you're not a reader, you fall asleep or what have you, you have a long commute, and implementing that. By and large, those will support you with implementing the EOS structure as a member of your team and really becoming a high performance integrator. And by and large, it's following this framework. Quarterly strategic retreats, quarterly employee growth plans, weekly stakeholders meeting, managed-led timekeeper like a board of directors, weekly looking at the power projects that we have, weekly employee growth plans, and then going into monthly, quarterly, weekly, and annually is bonuses. So this always becomes such a heavy and hard conversation around bonuses. There's this suggested bonus structure in the back end of the academy, but I want to have a conversation versus teaching from a tool here for you all to be present and to have your own ideas flow around this. So we've been talking about this throughout this special bonus 3-part series around high performance productivity sprints. And many of you have sent me emails, what would be a great bonus for you, which I love the creativity and some of them that are coming out, like Nia. Many of you know Nia, my executive assistant, and she's in the program. And for her, it's weekly acupuncture appointments because she's going through fertility, trying to get pregnant, and the viability when you go through acupuncture appointments, 80% success rate when people are going through acupuncture. Well, it's 150. I'm like, great, here's your homework. Go find an acupuncture. It's $150 a week. So that's a $400, $500, $600 a month bonus for her in regards to that. So it's not always just about, it can't be just about the money. There has to be something attached to it. Many of you know Ria, my full-time marketing coordinator that's in the Philippines. For hers was the computer with the high speed and I don't even know all the terminologies that she wanted for the memory and all that. She already won that. She already accomplished it. She already got that from Q2. Now for her, it's to go through SEO school. That's what she wants to do. So her and I, every single week, we go through her individual KPIs. If you do not know your individual KPIs, key performance indicator. So KPI of that is attached to your job description. In the back end of the academy 12-week series, we go through knowing, owning, and living and breathing your job descriptions. In fact, I think I did in the 5-week when I did that bonus. You can just type it in the search and you'll find it. But your individual, where you create value and how for your own self within your job description, but what are your KPIs? So, and there's a sample in the back end of the academy for every job description. Again, make it your own. So we talked about client care calls. So many people have that as part of their weekly. They get bonus if they make 20 client care calls, again, to past clients. That is part of their bonus to reach every single. If they're making the calls, documenting, updating the CRM, and have a next action and task to do, that's worth the bonus that they want. So for Nia to have $600 bonus, if she's making those client care calls, which is one of her KPIs every single week, it's worth it for me because we are already seeing a return on investment. Many of you in your law firms, there's already, the average person is booking an additional 3 appointments for clients that had already bought services from them. They're like, You're not going to believe this. I was just going to call you about, and you want them to call you versus another attorney that's hammering them with Facebook ads, Google reviews, client service coordinators that have that for running the daily huddle and replacing the attorney within that, streamlining the weekly case management meeting, things of that nature. Getting a KPI, managing all of our vendors and figuring out that was one of Ria's. I was paying a social media company, a Google AdWords company, a Facebook SEO company, what have you. And her job was to manage all those relationships, get all the contracts, figure out what the heck we're paying for. Are they accomplishing their goals? Attending the weekly meeting, managing and facilitating the weekly marketing meeting with me. And through that, she's like, I can learn this. I can do this. This is where they're not doing it. I'm noticing that they didn't post the blog here, but that there is an absolute, I'm happy to pay that bonus because she also reduced my monthly marketing spend. So this is the difference for you all to make what you want as an employee, as a value creator to reach your dream. So that's individual. And then there's team centric. So there's an example in the back end of the academy last week. I think it was 2 weeks ago, in open coaching and growing hours. We talked about this too for a team centric approach. Now, the example in the back end of the academy is there's a dollar amount. Some law firms share monthly goals, weekly goals for what they're making. So some people share revenue from that place, some don't. You have to know your law firm and discern site. So when it comes to sharing revenue, I don't mean we're opening up QuickBooks and sharing our P&Ls and things of that nature. What is our monthly goal that we need to hit bonus? So if it's 1.5 or it's $1 million for simple numbers, we know it's 83,333 a month. Okay, let's break that down. It's 20 and some change a week. We're going to have round numbers. Let's just up it to 90. I have firms, team members like, let's just up it to 100. Whatever it might be. In the example, in the bonus structure for the team centric, so there's individual, like what keeps you happy and whole? What makes you feel like you have a work-life balance? What makes you feel like you're on a path of growth? So for Jessica, it was to pay off her $11,000 soul-crushing credit card in 12 months. For Nia, it's acupuncture. There's another team member here in the academy that here is such how wherever you go, there you are. She had moved across the country, working for the law firm, etc., and wanted to have enough money for a deposit to get her own apartment because she's living with family, not even immediate family, aunts, uncles, family like that. And it came out through her individual and what's your why? Like what would help you feel like you are on a personal path of growth, reduce your stress when you leave here at night, because wherever you go, there you are, and you're bringing it to the firm. So for her, she knows she wants to save up enough to have the deposit that she needs to secure the department or the apartment, number one, and then also want to be able to afford the monthly. So the monthly includes that she's going to get in her quarterly review a raise of $3 an hour. We're like, great. The attorney's super excited because the attorney knows this. It was in June. And the attorney knows this when they're walking into their quarterly review, they're reviewing the goals and what have you. They're like, great. Yes, you met the bonus. Here it is in regards. And by the way, she already got the down deposit. Now she's going to get the raise in regards to her out. She's paid hourly, not salary, based on the bracket she's at. So figure that out. Figure that out for you individually. It has to be something that inspires you. So often law firms will come to me and say, so-and-so paralegal, they're not really motivated by money. And, they're not really motivated. They're so good at their job. They just want to come in, do their job, not feel a lot of stress, what have you. I'm like, there has to be something. So in having the conversation, like, what's a dream vacation you want to take? Maybe it's not today. Maybe it's when you retire. I have a paralegal, her goal, she's going to retire in 5 years. That's when her husband's retiring. And their goal is to do this Viking cruise through Budapest, what have you. Great. How much is a cruise going to cost? $25,000 if we do it the way we want to do or what have you. Great. So let's break that down into monthly. There's your monthly bonus. Do profit first, set up a separate account. It's not even going in your paycheck or anything. It's going in there. And lo and behold, when you retire in 5 years. So when people say they're not motivated by money, like, well, there has to be a dream and a why and what have you, and how fun in 5 years when your whole vacation's paid for when you're retired. How fun would that be? Maybe it's a contribution to your retirement plan. Maybe it's starting a retirement plan. Maybe it's a health savings account, whatever it might be. I don't need the money, but I have the luxury to get massages once a month. Well, great. Let's set up a health savings account and you pay from it there. Just like with Nia, where her acupuncture is coming, they accept HSA. So getting really clear, what's your why? What lights you up, employee? Like, come to your attorney with that. Always, again, propose solutions. So when it comes time for your employee growth plan and your bonus structure, like, here's my proposal. Here's what really is exciting for me. Here's what's exciting to me. Maybe it's donation to a charity of your choice or something you're super passionate about. Maybe Holly, you've heard me talk about that, where Holly's was to pay for her son's hockey, was in this insane competitive hockey league. Christine, who's on my team, for her, it's to pay for Max's lacrosse. So she feels like she's contributing for, I think it's lacrosse, like $1,200 a month or something. Great. Let's play that and gamify it. Where maybe you figure out creatively, like, attorney, I don't want it in my paycheck or what have you. Like for Jessica, she's like, I want you to actually pay my credit card bill instead of writing the check for me. So finding ways that you can do that. Again, talk to your CPA and whoever you need to talk to with that. Again, I'm just showing the creativity around that and the excitement. So the excitement, if we need to, as a team, decide that we're doing growth days on Tuesdays. From 5 to 7 or 5:30 to 7, we're okay. We talk to our family, like your husband's not resenting that you're working late. You're like, buddy, this is great because we're paying, my bonus is that I'm paying for our cruise for us to go on our 25-year, honeymoon or anniversary, or I'm paying for lacrosse or that private school that we want to put the kid in. It's going to cost $17,000 a year. This is how we're going to pay for it. I'm super excited. You think your family, you have to get buy-in from the family because you don't want to feel like the push and pull of it all and then the team centric. So again, the sample's in the back of it, but you're playing into that too. So how we have a goal as a team too, which is exciting because as you hear me saying, you're sick of me saying, so go the calendar, so go cash flow. So maybe the firm doesn't want to share revenue. Maybe you are in a C-suite, middle management, what the goal is for the firm annually. And then I know a lot of times people say, well, we can't really plan it monthly or weekly because the average life cycle of our matter is 18 months, or we never know when we're going to get paid if it's PI or what have you, but you can and you do. There are ways for you to be able to do that, because if I'm opening a matter in August 2023 and the average life cycle of the matter could be 18 months on average, again, the matter from last is closing on 18 months from 18 months ago. So that's how you can plan your weekly and your quarterly. In addition to getting, maybe that's a power project that comes out. People that are in family law, PI, med malpractice, what have you, will tell me we can't plan it. Well, you can. You can. I just had a firm yesterday that we talked about. We really realized that if we break up our law firm into squads, and we had fun with the naming convention where it's pre-litigation, then litigation, and then settlement. how we can really be in full control of when we receive revenue, because we're driving process consistently. We're over communicating with clients. We're over communicating and managing and facilitating outside counsel and the other players that are involved. So a lot of times in your practice, and sometimes in your practice, you have many different players and you are at the mercy of other people's actions and productions and communication and all that. But again, people behave how you train them to. So when you set it up right at the onset of when we take a matter and you get all players involved in day one, it has been game changing. I know it. I've seen it. There's proof of concept out there. So you can plan how we get that. And then again, when you see in the sample bonus structure for the team centric, there's a payout. So maybe it's not about the money, it's about the calendar. We need to have X amount of leads, X amount of sales meetings, X amount of engagements, whatever it might be. Which again, marketing has their individual KPI, intake has their individual KPI. So that's how everybody's individual goals play into the global goal. And then from there, we're planning and we're looking at the calendar. We're looking at the life cycle of a lead. We're looking at the life cycle of a client. And that's how, when you get deeply curious and you have weekly stakeholders meeting and in the agenda, for many of you that have been following that, we're managing, we're talking about, we're looking at all that, and it's continual improvement. Yeah, I talked about this. If you're really deeply a nerd like I am, Google search, YouTube search the Kaizen method. And it's a Japanese term that is about continual improvement that's implemented in a lot of lean logistics and a lot of big corporations. This is why they're billion-dollar corporations, because of the continual improvement model that is always within alive and well, daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually within their practice. And that's what we're talking about. So it might be globally. And the cool thing about the team-centric approach to goal is when you look at it and look at the sample, again, easier to edit than create, make it your own. But the law firm doesn't hurt. The law firm wins, the team wins, and the clients win, which there's so many strategic byproducts that come out: branding, reputation, life cycle of the file, reoccurring clients, referral sources, all the things that we are constantly talking about. But when you look at it, there's a monthly. I like it in a monthly bonus on top of a quarterly and an annual. So there's a monthly, then there's a quarterly, and then there's the annual. And there are ripcord provisions and there are safety nets in there for the firm. We cannot blow up expenses. We X amount, so here's the bonus. A portion gets put in a pot for quarterly payout. A portion gets put in the pot for annual payout, which I love. And the reason that I created that is because you need to be here at the end of the year to get this bonus. So, if Susie Q or Johnny Joe are not pulling their weight and you as a team member are resentful of that, you're like, I'm okay, because there's no way they're going to be here annually. They're not going to be here at the end of the year. They're either going to self-select out or we're going to select them out. And here are all our safety nets that are in there. So you're not resentful. And the entrepreneur and the business owner, the attorney's not resentful that they're shelling out this money monthly and there's no safety net or guarantee that this has become a process now, that it's become consistent. So there's a small portion paid out monthly for us to all feel excited and what have you, then quarterly, and then again annually. And then we're, of course, keeping in consideration overhead and profitability and all that. So it works beautifully. And your attorney is delighted. I hear from attorneys, and I have for 26 years, nothing warms their heart more than to write bonus checks or to give bonuses to their team members for multiple reasons. Like, they can make such an impact and a difference in their own internal client the same way you do for your external clients, and to see how much your own individual grows. So when we're coming to the weekly team meetings, when we're coming to strategic retreats, when we're coming to the quarterly reviews, There's no longer, like, we are in driver mode. So when we are attached to the global goal and as well as our individual goal, the language changes within the firm. We're all walking, talking like CEOs of our own job description and the firm. So when we have conversations about, I was thinking about X, Y, and Z, like, I'm thinking about this as I'm on the soccer field, as I'm doing laundry on a Saturday or what have you, because I'm invested. I have ownership in this. My kids' hockey tuition is attached to this. And so we better make sure that we're following the process. It's so exciting to see because we all have skin in the game. And, so often I'll hear from attorneys like, well, isn't their paycheck enough? Isn't it that you're lucky enough to have a job? If you're hiring and employing people that's good enough for them, that's not the way to grow and scale. You want rock stars. You want purpose-driven, difference-making people on there that are excited and motivated for their own personal growth because they're confident in the value that they create. But that's not the framework. That framework is so outdated and it no longer works, that people should be lucky to have a job. And shouldn't they just do this because that's what I'm paying them to do? Well, of course, but how fun is that? How exciting is that? That's not a game or a language of growth. And I mean controlled growth, not blowing things up just to blow them up. I'm talking about controlled growth from that perspective. So you want that from a place of gamification, from fun, for all the and we can go on and on about the strategic byproducts that come out of that. But I know this works, guys and gals, gang. I know this works. I know this works. And it's so exciting when we can systematize it, structure it. Attorneys, I mean, just people in the business world. I see the amount of checks that entrepreneurs and businesses write for systemization, for process, for production, for profitability. And that's what we're talking about. So speaking to your attorneys listening in a way that makes a difference for them. They're investing the time and money and energy for you to be here. You're investing the time, money, and energy for it to be here. And this is the framework: strategic retreat, power projects, employee growth days, weekly stakeholder meetings, and bonuses that are both individual and team-centric. That wins, that accomplishes your personal and your professional and your law firm goals. So my recommendation is you share it with your attorney. Number one, in the recording, I'll send a recap. In fact, I'm going to have Nia and Ria send out an email to a recap meeting to the entire law firm admin bootcamp, including your attorneys, and say, you need to listen to this recording. Grab your popcorn, grab your coffee, you put it on 2x, it's 55-minute long, put on 1x, 1.5, you can crush through it in 30 minutes, do it together, do it separately, do it as a team, and adopt this as a framework going forward for year end and going into the new year and beyond. For this is now our system and our process and our structure to make sure everybody wins. Clients win, we win as a firm, and individually we win. It just works. So I'll send out the reminder, I'll send out the recap, I'll send the links for the areas that I said to go to the individual process to get the retreat agenda, the prep work, and the folder to go into to get that. But this is the power of incentives and how to create and maintain and keep a high-performing team where everybody wins and you're not only accomplishing goal, but we're having fun along the way. And we're not adopting this mindset of we're stressed out and overwhelmed and what have you. It keeps you out of the fray. All right. So great work. Thank you for attending this 3-part series. Kudos. The recap will be in for all 3 of them in the back end of the academy, so you can easily find them. In addition to, I will send a recap out to all of your attorneys to get them on board. And so you don't have to over communicate or share this to them. And then you could get right to work. All right. Great work. We've reached the end of yet another episode of the Hire and Empower with Molly McGrath podcast, where dream teams of entrepreneurs in an entrepreneur's world really do come true. Listen, whether you're a business owner, employee, executive, or hiring manager, we fully understand hiring, onboarding, and leadership is expensive, exhausting, often overwhelming, and absolutely time-consuming for the already taxed professional. Well, we have your back on all fronts. For 25 years and counting, we have transformed over 4,000 law firm teams into the most efficient, resourceful, and profitable asset of your business. Check out our Smart Hire solution, our employee leadership program, and the 66-day law firm turnaround at hiringandempowering.com.